President Trump is back in Washington after his 5-day tour of Asia. The trip included key diplomatic stops in Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea, where the president met with regional leaders to discuss trade, security, and global cooperation. But the headlines everyone's talking about his latest high-stakes deal with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Roger Collins joins us live in studio with the details. Roger?
Manisa, Trump reduced his tariffs on China by 10% this morning after having what he called an amazing meeting. There was also a bit of commentary from the president on Canada after he and Mark Carney attended a state dinner last night, the first time the two have met since Trump nixed trade talks following Ontario's tariff ad campaign.
I thought it was an amazing meeting. He's a great leader of a very powerful, very strong country, China.
After a week touring Asia, U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a flurry of deals, most notably with China.
We're in agreement on so many elements, large amounts, tremendous amounts of the soybeans and other farm products are going to be purchased immediately, starting immediately.
On top of Beijing agreeing to resume its purchase of America's soybeans, he says China plans to crack down on the illegal fentanyl trade and continue exporting rare earth minerals.
You know, I put a 20% tariff on China because of the fentanyl coming in, which is it's a big tariff. And based on his statements today, I reduced it by 10%, so it's 10% instead of 20% effective immediately.
It kind of takes us back to where we were back in May or so. There's no real change. We've reverted back to roughly the same tariffs. The rare earths are still flowing, but they're somewhat controlled. And the fentanyl agreement, this is something that the U.S. re-ups with China occasionally.
He says the two also plan on working together to see if they can, quote, get something done when it comes to Ukraine, and shared that they'll be meeting again come April. Earlier this week, Trump took to Truth Social, where he wrote, "For those that are asking, we didn't come to South Korea to see Canada."
Anything on Canada? Anything on Canada?
We had a very nice conversation with him yesterday. We really did.
Thank you.
And for the first time since calling off trade talks with Canada, Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney came face to face during a state dinner. But it appears the two had little to say.
I mean, the United States is quite dependent on Canada for certain industries, and things like trying to put restrictions on Canadian steel or automobile parts is a way of shooting ourselves in the foot. And so I think that eventually there's going to have to be compromises on some of those things.
Meanwhile, Carney held talks with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, where the two deepened their countries' ties, promising bilateral cooperation in security, defense, and industrial collaboration. Top of mind for both is likely Canada's new submarine acquisition program, valued at $43 billion, that South Korean shipbuilders are competing for. South Korea's Minister of Foreign Affairs today said members of APEC are, quote, very close in having a joint declaration ready for tomorrow.
The first Trump administration actually objected to joint statements that included things like a commitment to free trade in the WTO system and whatnot. And so I think that at this point, with the global free trade system somewhat blown up, that they're not even going to try to put that in there.
Still to come is tomorrow's meeting between Canada and China's leader, something the two nations haven't formally done since 2017 when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister. And perhaps the biggest issue to address are the tit-for-tat tariffs the two nations have placed on one another, China sanctioning Canadian canola and Canada's auto tariff on Chinese-made EVs. It'll be interesting to see how things play out between Canada and China, especially given the rocky relationship the two nations have had since the arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou back in 2018. That meeting will take place tomorrow at 4 p.m.